All right, welcome to the Pagosa Adventures podcast. Of course, I've got Sandra Johnson along with me again. So Sandy and I have done several projects together. You've probably heard a podcast with us, and then possibly you've seen even the video we did of installing a Lithionics 315, or maybe it was a 320, don't remember which one it was, and a 3,000 watt inverter into a leisure travel van. Sandy, how are you?
Good. Hi, Brandon. How you doing?
Yeah, it looks like you're at home. You're not out leisurely traveling right now.
No, but I'm heading to Key West for 2 weeks next Friday. So I'll be leaving soon.
Oh, nice. And you're going to go back to the Flamingos rally too in November to Key West, right?
Yes, I am.
Wow, nice. 2 trips to Key West.
Are you going to be there?
Well, we don't have a space, so I was too late to get a space. But I told Gary that if he hears somebody that can't come or something, that we'll definitely probably take that space. So anyway, but yeah, I was a little late on the draw to get a space.
Maybe we can do another video.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, well, like I said, we did a video about the 315 or 320. Now they're all 320. So Lithionics jumped up 5 amp hours for the consumer model. They always had the 320 for their OEM models. But now everybody gets a 320, which is great. For those of you who this is your first time tuning in or are not familiar with Sandy, Sandy's background is actually, she's a mechanical engineer, retired mechanical engineer in the nuclear sector, and is a DIY electrician, RV electrician, and you taught yourself.
RV anything, really.
Yeah, and
pretty much done it all.
Sandy has an amazing. So talk about your lithium setup, because you've got basically a nuclear power plant in your leisure travel van. So tell us a little bit about your setup.
Well, I've actually changed all my appliances. So I don't have a propane cooktop. I have an induction cooktop. I don't have the 3-way Dometic refrigerator. I have a 12 volt or 120 shore power compressor refrigerator. I don't use the furnace. I use, a little small plug-in space heater. So basically I've changed out everything so I can, basically run on electricity. And one of the things, initially I put in a 3,000 watt inverter and a single battery, because I just wanted to, my goal was to really run the air conditioner for my dogs.
When you say single battery, you mean a Lithionics 315, correct?
Yeah, a Lithionics 315.
315 hour, basically 3 100 amp hour Battleborns equivalency.
Oh, yeah. Well, basically 400. I mean, a Lithionics 315 will outperform 400 amp hours of other batteries all day long. Anyway, so I installed the 315 so I could run the air conditioner. And, my first test right out of the chute, I got 4 hours. So I'm like, this is fabulous. I got 4 hours of air conditioner runtime, 2 to 4, depending on how hot it is outside or what my thermostat setting is. But I'm pleased with knowing that I can probably get 4 hours. I mean, I did get 4 hours. When I stopped it, I still had 21% SOC. So, I could have gotten more. So it's really all how you manage your running the air conditioner and what your thermostat setting is, so you don't have the compressor running constantly. That's going to let the battery run it the longest. Anyway, so I did that. And so then I, started, going and camping, and I was thinking this 3,000 watt inverter is going to solve all my problems. I'm going to love it. I've got all my appliances changed. I can run everything on electricity. Well, in the summertime, especially, I don't know how it is in other places, but in the South, of course, everybody is running their air conditioner at the campground. So, almost immediately I noticed when I was, when we were going to the campground, that I had low voltage, so I plug into the shore power. I was running the air conditioner, my 120 volt water heater. It was trying to heat up, the 6 gallons of water. You want to use the microwave, whatever. So I noticed that I'm basically going to, have to deal with low voltage because, everybody's running the air conditioner and I want to run more than just my air conditioner. So, having all these things run off electricity, it pulls down the quality of the voltage. I mean, you're already getting, low voltage from the campground because everybody's demanding power. Sometimes I would see I'd go down to like 104 volts and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to keep my voltage above 114. So I quickly realized that having all these electric, appliances and trying to, use it in the summer at campgrounds where they're already maxed out, probably wasn't going to, I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to have to you'd have to manage your loads. Like I tell people, you can only run one big thing at a time. So, if I'm running the air conditioner, I have to wait till the air conditioner compressor turns off, and then I could run the induction cooktop, or I could run the water heater, or I could run the microwave. And I just didn't want to do that. I don't want to have to, manage my loads and think about it. So I said, okay, I'm going to get a second Lithionics battery and a second 3,000 watt inverter, because basically you can only run one 3,000 watt inverter from one Lithionics 315 or 320. So I needed a second battery and then, to run a second inverter. And so I did. I put in, now I have 2 inverters and 2 Lithionics 315s. And I realized, in having that I can just leave the second inverter. I can leave that turned off from shore power. I don't even need shore power to go through it, because it's surprising how little battery power I use just to run that water heater for a few minutes till the water heats up, just to run the microwave for a couple of minutes, just to run the induction cooktop for, 10 or 15, 20 minutes to cook a meal. I mean,
So hold on. So tell me how your inverters, so do you have an inverter just for your air conditioner only?
Yeah.
And then one inverter for everything else?
Right. And I keep that inverter turned off. I keep that breaker turned off, so I don't use shore power with that inverter at all. I use that inverter, which basically powers everything else, not the air conditioner. I use all that stuff strictly off battery. And I use the inverter that's attached to the air conditioner. I use its battery charger to charge the batteries while I'm on shore power. So basically, while I'm using the second inverter off of battery only, just to run everything else, my first inverter is attached to shore power. It's running the air, shore power is passing through the inverter to run the air conditioner, and the battery charger is with the inverter. So I'm also using the battery charger to charge the battery. So almost as soon as I'm using any battery power for the rest of my coach, it's being recharged by the battery charger that's, hooked to shore power with the air conditioner.
Okay, how much trial and error? Because obviously, I don't think you're probably one of the only people that are going to do something that extreme. How much trial and error did it take to get everything going exactly the way you wanted, with 2 inverters, 2 batteries, and everything? Did you pretty much nail it the first time?
Yep.
Wow, that's awesome.
As soon as I wired it up, turned it on, it worked like a dream.
So anyway, I wanted to talk a little more today just about some just have a great conversation about more RV electricity, because I do think it is probably the most intimidating thing about RVing, and probably one of the most devastating if it goes out on you, right? Except for unless you have a mechanical failure. But yeah, you don't want your air conditioner going out in the middle of the summer, definitely. No. Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about, so say, because we had a person that I got you involved with that had bought a Lithionics battery, and they let it run down to zero, which is never a good thing. So let's talk about really good practices to make sure that your battery health is good. So obviously you don't want it to run down. Lithionics does have the never die system, but that's not in all lithium batteries, is it?
No. As far as I understand from other battery brands, they just basically have a low voltage cutoff. So when the battery voltage drops, they don't have like a state of charge cutoff. They have a low voltage cutoff. So as the battery voltage drops, when people are using it, whenever it hits whatever that brand's magic low voltage number is, then the battery just turns off. I mean, there's no warning. It just goes. And that's, the Lithionics battery is different from that because they have what's called the never die 10% reserve. And what that means is basically a Lithionics battery will shut down either on 10% state of charge or 12 volts. So whichever one comes first. So, and my battery never drops below 12.7 volts. So, I'm never going to see the low voltage cutoff. I've tested it all the way to zero and it stays at, never goes below 12.7. So, I don't see that, I'm ever going to use the low voltage part of it. But the 10% state of charge, the Lithionics battery turns off when it reaches 10%. And that's to give you a last 10% reserve. So when the Lithionic battery turns off that first time, you still have 10%. Now, people don't understand that, you have to turn the battery back on. It's a manual thing. It's a decision process. You say to yourself, okay, my battery turned off. I only have 10%, state of charge left. So I need to be thinking how I'm going to recharge this. I do want to turn it on because I want to, keep my refrigerator going, or it's dark and I need lights. So I'm definitely going to turn it back on because I need to use that reserve. But when you do, you need to be thinking, I've got to figure out how to get my battery charged because it's going to go to zero. And, in the case of this person that you mentioned, he didn't understand. He just kept, he turned it back on, but he just kept running his air conditioner. Well, an air conditioner pulls, when the compressor is running, it pulls like 150 amps. So that 10%, you're only going to get like a minute, 2 minutes tops of air conditioner operation. So, he didn't understand when he turned it back on and kept running the air conditioner that it would, virtually almost immediately turn back off again. And then he was, he felt stuck. And he didn't understand, once it, turns off that last time, it's at zero, and you can damage a lithium battery just like any other kind of battery if you let it, go all the way to zero without immediately charging it. I mean, that's the worst thing you can do for a battery is let it sit discharged. So, I don't know how long he waited. I don't know, till the next morning or something. I don't know. And then he started his engine or his generator and, started recharging it. But he just didn't understand that when you turn the battery on, that next time after the never die, turns the battery off the first time, when you turn it back on, you really need to be thinking, I'm going to use this 10% to start the generator. You've only got 10%. So, you really just want to run DC loads because that's going to let you, go a little bit longer. But, zero is going to come fast.
All right, so so while we're talking about inverters, one of the things you get asked a lot, I get asked a lot, Victron versus Xantrex. Of course, leisure travel vans comes with a generally a 2,000 watt inverter that the later model of leisure travel vans do. Before it was just a 1,000-watt Magnum, I think. So if you have a Xantrex inverter in your leisure travel van, you want to upgrade to the 3000. That Victron 3000 Multiplus is a very good piece of equipment. But do you want to do that, or you want to stick with Xantrex?
Well, the Multiplus, or the Victron Multiplus, and now there's a Multiplus 2. So you have your choice. The Multiplus is, I don't remember the dimensions, but it's basically more squarish, and the Multiplus 2 is longer. It's like 8 inches wide by 26 inches long. By, I don't know, 12 or 15 inches wide. So one is more like a toaster shape, and the other one is more, is flat, long and flatter. So bottom line, they take up a lot of space. And they weigh a lot. They weigh over 40 pounds. So like with my two inverters, do not take up, if I put them together, they don't take up as much room as a single Victron Multiplus, and they weigh less. My two inverters, I went with a Kisei and a Xantrex, and so that weighs 39 pounds. But if I went with two Xantrexes, I think a Xantrex only weighs 16 pounds, so that would have been 32 pounds compared to 40 plus pounds. So it kind of just boils down. Oh, the other thing about a Victron is it's very complicated. You have to use a computer to program it. It has lots of settings. You have to understand, what all the settings do. So when you make changes or you want to program it, you understand what you're doing with it. It's really not just for the average person who kind of wants to just flip a switch and, everything's taken care of. You have to sort of be a technical person who can, understand all the features of a Xantrex. And most people that are not a Xantrex, the Victron, and most people installing Victron, they don't know what all that stuff means. They just have, I've recently had a friend have a Victron installed, and he called me right away and was having problems with it. And I said, you need to go back to your installer. They're the ones that need to solve your problem, not me. I didn't put it in. So, sure enough, he did go back. And the person got on his computer, and he could link his computer with the Victron Multiplus, and he could make the changes. And, then I said, you really need to learn how to, hook up the computer and manage your own, manage it. And he's like, no, I'm just going to call, my installer whenever I have trouble, and he can get on the computer and do it. I'm like, okay. That's not for me.
If he answers, he may stop answering you.
Yeah. That's not for me. I want to know what everything means. I want to do it myself, which I can. I've helped people do Victrons. I just, personally, I didn't choose a Victron Multiplus, even though it's really the top of the line unit you can buy. It does very well with managing loads itself. It's really quite smart, but I didn't pick it just because, it's so heavy and it's so complicated. I just didn't want to fool with it.
And in a small motorhome, leisure travel van, or any Sprinter based, the room is a premium, and that's one thing that's so great about the Lithionics is, even though, like you said, it's basically outperforms 400 amp hour for battle borns, it's smaller than two of those. And so, when space is a premium, and that's what I do love about that Xantrex is tiny, compared to what it does.
Yeah. I never could have gotten a Lithionics 315 and a Victron Multiplus in my compartment where the where most people have their inverters. I couldn't have never gotten those two things in there together, because that multiplus is just so much bigger. And so, like I said, I went with the Keysa, and I went with the Xantrex. So I have, in that same compartment, in the inverter compartment, I have 2 inverters. I have a Lithionics battery, and I still have 14 inches of space left for storage. So, I mean, but it's up to people what they want.
If you have a fifth wheel that with all of that storage, I would deck that out with all the Victron stuff, because you look at those Victron, they've got like 14 different things that you put together with it. So, but with a leisure travel van, I say keep it simple. So anytime somebody asks me, should I do a Xantrex, should I do a Victron, I always recommend Xantrex, especially if it's an upgrade from a 2000, because it just fits exactly where the 2000 fit. And you can have a 3000 watt inverter exactly where LTV put your 2000.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a swap out. And to me, I mean, I don't think I could create a do-it-yourself Victron guide. I mean, I think it would just be too hard, because you definitely would have to make modifications to the compartment for it to fit in. It wouldn't be for, your average do-it-yourself or even, there's a lot of people, following my guide that, has hardly done anything DIY. They just, are able to read my guide, follow the pictures. We have a video now. They can, I think that's a big help. They watch the video, and they're able to do it. I mean, you couldn't do that with a Victron.
Yeah. If you're a full timer and you're boondocking all the time, maybe you want to mess with the Victron stuff, because they do, they make an awesome solar controller. They make some really good products. But if you use your LTV like I do, which is, we try to go out as much as possible, but I have been totally satisfied with my one Lithionics and my 3000 watt inverter. We were in Florida, and we were parked the LTV for about 3 hours with the dogs in it. Set the thermostat at 78 in the humid Florida, and when we came back 3 hours later, still had 42%. So for me, that is completely adequate. That did the job that I wanted to do. Now, a lot of people. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and look at from your own experience, you only had to learn really one thing about that Victron, and that was how to change the battery charger current.
Yeah.
Because, because that's the only thing you have to adjust. If you want to use a 20 amp outlet to run the air conditioner, then you have to turn that battery charger, down like to, 20 or 10 amps, because you are limited by the power that you're getting from the 20 amp outlet, and that the air conditioner can run on. The same thing when you plug into shore power and you realize you have low voltage because everybody's using their air conditioner. You just dial down the battery charger current and you're good to go. So that's, and it's so easy with the Bluetooth.
Yeah, I just open up the phone, and I actually dial it down to 5, because I have found in my garage at home, if I'm any more than 5, it pops that breaker. Yeah. And so I dial the charger down to 5, and you just open the Xantrex app up, and literally on your phone. Simple. So that is a fantastic thing that I do love about the Xantrex, about the Lithionics, because they don't require anything else. Let's back up for a second, because LTV supplies you with a non-Bluetooth Xantrex remote, which I think is ridiculous because it's only a few dollars more. And so if you want to be able to do that on your phone, yes, just jump on Amazon and grab a Bluetooth, and it's literally just a phone cord that connects your inverter to that thing.
So much easier. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I mean, I tried I tried to put it in my Xantrex into Lithium using the 3 buttons, and no. That will make you not want to RV if you try that. So just jump on Amazon, pay your $90 and change it out, and your life will be much easier. So let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned Battleborns. And so that's another question I get asked. I'm sure you get asked a ton. You know, Lithionics is expensive. They are expensive. And I will just, you know, at full disclosure, we're a Lithionics dealer. Sandy, you are a giant Lithionics fan. In fact, I think you may, either yourself or somebody you know introduced me to Lithionics, well, it's a couple of years ago. And so now we're full tilt into Lithionics. Like I said, we have a great relationship with them. I'm a true believer in their batteries. They've got some exciting products coming out too. But anyway, so Battleborns, Lithionics, Lion Energy, Renogy, everybody's coming out with lithium batteries now. I say get whatever you can afford, even though, yeah, I'd like to sell you Lithionics. However, get what works for you, okay? And so just get lithium, because it automatically doubles your battery bank in the same footprint, automatically from lead acid or AGM, okay? But let's talk a little bit about what really separates battery brands. So you take a Battleborn, which is a name brand everybody knows. They're also known as Dragonflies in the LTV community, because that's the mother brand of Battleborns. So let's talk a little bit about what really separates brands of batteries. So tell me about a Battleborn.
Well, I think the little 100 amp hour batteries, I think they're all very similar. If you ever watch that Will Prowse, he tears down lithium batteries. Mm-hmm. You know, they're all very similar. And the way that the people that designing those batteries, they're making it more like a lead acid battery. I mean, it has high resistance inside the battery, so it's more like a brick, like a lead acid battery. And they do that because the systems in RVs are designed for lead acid batteries. I mean, we're not seeing a big step change in technology for the things that are used in in RVs. I mean, look at leisure. They've used the same air conditioner, the same quickie step, for at least for the 8 years that I've owned mine. I mean, so they've made very little changes, and those companies have made very little changes, and all of those components were designed for lead acid batteries, because that's all there used to be. So the designer of these, the people, the manufacturers of these small 100 amp hour batteries, they're designing them more like a lead acid battery with a lot of resistance built into them. So you don't have to make any kind of wiring changes. You can just, put them in just, in place of an AGM battery or anything else. And Lithionics is that way as well. It's not until you start getting putting lots of batteries together. So if you're the kind of person who, as you said, go lithium, to whatever your price range is. And mm-hmm. So to replace your flooded wet cell battery or AGM batteries, which are, in the 200 to 235 amp hour range, the direct replacement is to get 2 100 amp hour lithium batteries. So that's 200 amp hours, and you can use all 200 amp hours. It's not like, mm-hmm. The AGM and the wet cells, where you could only use half of that before you were starting to damage the battery and you have to recharge it. So if you're just going, if you just want a direct replacement for your current lead acid batteries, then, by all means, buy 2 100 amp hour batteries as cheap as you can buy. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Amazon has, has them very, very cheap. So I think the Renogy batteries are like, I don't know, $4.99 or something. So, mm-hmm. And lots of people tell me that Costco is having sales on, I think, the Lion Energy battery. So yeah, if you just want a direct replacement, go with it. But if you're looking,
especially if you're a weekender, and you want to double your battery capacity, that's the easiest way to do it by far.
But if you want to run the air conditioner, now you need more than 200 amp hours. You need, Battleborn recommends for their batteries, you can't run a 3,000 watt inverter without, unless you have at least 300 amp hours of batteries, 100 amp hour batteries. Okay, so now you say to yourself, I want the 3,000 watt inverter, and let me look at my choices for batteries. Okay, I could get a Lithionics battery, which will fit in the step. It's 320 amp hours, and it performs like 400 amp hours of battery, of the one, equivalent to the 100 amp hour batteries. Or you could buy 3 less expensive lithium batteries, of which only 2 are going to fit in that step box, like the Dragonfly batteries that Leisure uses. Those are you're only going to be able to get 2 in your step. So now you've got a third battery that you have to find a place for. And because you have 3 separate batteries, you have to wire them. You have to wire them in parallel to bus bars, so they get used and get charged equally. You can't just daisy chain them together. You need to wire them all separately to bus bars, and then use those bus bars as your takeoffs for your power to go to the inverter or the coach or wherever you're going with your 12 volt power. So now that's not easy. The batteries are cheap, but the installation isn't easy. Now you're buying, all kinds of wire, you're buying bus bars, you're buying fuses. Now it's getting complicated and more expensive. Well,
and if you want to monitor those, you got to buy a smart shunt.
Oh yeah, you got to buy. There's
a lot more to it.
And if you camp in below freezing temperatures, now you need a battery. You need heaters. So then you look back over, wow, this Lithionics, when I start doing the cost benefit analysis, now the single Lithionics battery, it's not that much more expensive when you start adding in all those costs. Now, and the fact that you have to give up space and the complication of the installation versus a Lithionics 320 that you just drop in the battery box and connect with the same coach battery cables that your old batteries used. Bam, you're done. I mean,
well, and if you're talking about Dragonflies from LTV, I mean, it's only a couple dollars more to get the 320.
The LTV.
They charge $4,000. They charge $4,000 for those 2 batteries.
I thought it was like $4,260 or something. I mean,
it could be. Yeah, it's a lot.
So I mean, now it's you're really wasting your money if you go with the Leisure, 200 amp hour option. You might as well just do a Lithionics after you bring it home, because you're going to get you're just going to get so much better power and quality of performance with a Lithionics battery. So anyway, that's really what you have to rationalize. It's not just the cheapness of the battery. It's all the other stuff that you have to buy to make those 3 little batteries or 4 little batteries, work. And like I said, if you really sit down and pencil whip it, you're going to realize that you're better off paying for the Lithionics battery. I mean, and it's not going to be more expensive in the end when you start factoring in, the complication, the cost, the space you have to give up. You have to be honest with yourself when you're looking at all those things to say, the Lithionics battery really isn't difference.
You want to hear something funny is, so we got the new Airstream. So we took it to Colorado, got an Airstream Globetrotter, 27-foot travel trailer. It has AGM batteries, and I had such battery anxiety that I have not experienced since the first day I had my leisure with the AGMs until I switched out to Lithionics. And I can tell you, battery anxiety is not fun, because the Airstream has a 12-volt refrigerator. It's not propane. And so to run that air conditioner or that refrigerator down the road, it's got to be turned on to the batteries. And I just have 2 AGM batteries. Of course, we're going to be doing a big Lithionics upgrade on the Airstream soon, I hope. But oh my gosh, battery anxiety is no fun, Sandy. And you haven't experienced it in a long time. And so people who have AGM batteries or lead acid batteries, and you just got to worry about dropping into 50%. So that's why I say, even if you're a weekender, even if you do want to get those Lion Energies or the Renogies, just change to lithium. And then if you want to, my saying is, if you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly bear. And so then jump up into Lithionics and a 3,000 watt inverter and turn on that air conditioner if you want to. And so I think that's some great advice, is just getting it. Now let's talk about soft starts, because RV Soft Start just came out with a brand new idea, and I shared it with you recently. I think a lot of people have heard about it now. They're actually sending me a review unit. It'll be here on Monday, but it's a external soft start that's also a surge protector, which remind me to ask you about doubling up surge protectors here in a minute. But so it's a soft start that just plugs into the power pole, and it does all the work of an internal or a soft start hardwired into your air conditioner. Now, what are your thoughts about this? It's not going to be for everybody, because you can't use it with your inverter. You can't use it necessarily with your generator unless you mess around with some things, plug it straight into the generator. But let's talk about that. So who is that really going to be for?
Well, I think number one, it's definitely for people with travel trailers, because people with travel trailers, are more likely either plugging into a pedestal or they're plugging into a generator. And they want to be able to, really with the generator, they want to be able to run the air conditioner from a small generator, like a Honda 2200, Westinghouse 2500, something that's small and, that they can put in a compartment. It's not real heavy. It's just easy. And so, that plug-in soft start that you're talking about, it's for people who basically are plugging into a pedestal or plugging in to generators. So to correlate with leisure people, there are a lot of leisure people that only go to campgrounds. I mean, I've met, a number of people who are still using their original flooded wet cell batteries. And the main reason is because they always go to a campground. So, so they're just driving from, point A to point B to get to the campground and plug in. So, that kind of a unit would be a good thing for them, because it certainly makes running the air conditioner easier off the grid system. So, like in the summer when everybody's running the air conditioner, having a soft start does, dampen the spike, the amp spike that it takes to start the compressor every time. So certainly that will ease.
Yeah, let's for people who don't know what a soft start is, first of all, let's just I think sometimes you and I can just assume people know everything, but a soft start is because your air conditioner, when that compressor kicks on, it's a massive amperage spike.
Oh yeah, I mean it can be like as much as 60 amps. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, that's why you have to plug your RV into a minimally a 30 amp with one air conditioner or 50 amp with two air conditioners in order to control that spike. Because a 120 or a 15 or 20 amp plug will power your air conditioner when it's on, just not when it's starting. So that's what soft start does.
Right, not when it's starting the compressor or the fan motor. I mean, motors, compressors and motors, when they go to start up, it takes, a big surge of amperage to get them to go, that initial wind, And so if you install either a Microsoft or a Micro Air Easy Start or a Soft Start RV, they're just two different brands. They're basically the same thing. They dampen that amperage surge that the compressor and the fan motor, wants or needs to start up. They make it easier for them to start up on less amps. And so it lowers it to like 20 amps. So instead of having that big spike, like, 50 or 60 amps, it lowers it down to 20 amps. So that's why, if you install an Easy Start or a Soft Start, then you can run your air conditioner from a 20 amp outlet and still have a little bit left over for battery charging. So, it's a good thing. I mean, it's a good thing for your air conditioner. It doesn't make it work so hard, because when things have to draw more amps, that means they're getting hotter, they're running hotter. So, it does, I'm going to say, saves on, let's say, wear and tear on your air conditioner.
And it saves on that shutter whenever, when it does that big power spike, if you don't have a soft start. It almost shake your whole RV when that compressor kicks on, but this completely solves that. It makes it
a lot quieter. I mean, when I installed I installed an Easy Start, and the directions say it has to go through this learn process, and you have to time 5 minutes between the compressor turning off and the compressor restarting, and then you can basically have to power it off and on 5 times so it will learn. I mean, I couldn't hear the compressor anymore. I couldn't hear it, start up. So I couldn't figure out when to, do my 5-minute timer. So I had to get a little voltmeter and plug it into, an outlet so I could watch the change in voltage to recognize when the compressor was coming on. So, it does make it quieter as well.
Yeah, for sure. And so another reason that you might want this external soft start, because I talked to some people that always ask me, well, if I put a soft start in my AC, is it going to void my warranty? Yeah, probably on your AC, probably, maybe not. But, so they're afraid of that. So if you're afraid of putting a third party, component in your air conditioning, then this external will be good, just knowing that this is only for when you're at a power pole or at a 15, 20 amp plug, 30 amp plug, 50 amp plug. Has nothing to do with inverters like we're talking about or anything like that.
And it has a surge protector, which, sadly Leisure installs a surge protector that's not really usable, because it's, in such a crazy place that you can't even get to it to use
Mine's
it.
really hidden.
Yeah.
Very much hidden.
So you also get, that surge protectors, which is, kind of a plus, because you are worried when you plug into, campgrounds, whether,
So let's talk about that for one second, because there's two camps. People that say don't use an external surge protector with a leisure travel van because it has one built in. Now what Sandy's talking about is when you always want to test your power when you get to any power source. You want to see if there's reverse polarity. You want to see if there's low voltage. And so you've got to analyze that. And that's what those external surge protectors do. Well, ours built in does that too. You just can't see it because it's hidden underneath the couch. Mine is anyway. And so it is good to have a little external device. Now, what I use, Sandy, I got a little $12 item on Amazon that'll tell me, before I plug in, it's not the big surge protector. And then I'll let the surge protector actually just protect against surging, not analyzing for me. But is it okay to plug in an external surge protector into your power pole, and then let the leisure travel vans be a surge protector as well, having two surge protectors? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay. But you have to recognize that every time you plug something in, you're adding resistance. So if you have, you have your short power cord, you have, that's the external surge protector, then you have the internal surge protector, then you have the automatic transfer switch, and then the power goes to your breaker box. So all those things are extra connections, and they're adding resistance. So, if something goes wrong, now you have to check every one of those things and figure out
like little roadblocks. Yeah.
So is something going to happen? No. I mean, it's a freak thing if, you have, something happens and you get a bad connection, but, you can trace it down. I mean, all you do is unplug something and keep testing. But, things go bad. Plugs go bad. The plug on the leisure coach, has gone bad. Power cords have gone bad. Surge protectors have gone bad. Automatic transfer switches fail. Stuff happens. So, yes, it's true that every time you, plug in a new thing, onto your daisy chain that's ultimately going to the breaker box, it is adding some resistance. So, maybe you could see, another volt, 1 volt drop or something. But I think the peace of mind that people should want to know when they plug into campgrounds that they're not going to do any damage to their leisure.
Yeah.
You want that's number one. And I think it's a good idea. Progressive Dynamics just came out with a little handheld thing like you're talking about that analyzes the pedestal plug that you can plug in, and it'll go through and tell you if it's good, if everything's okay, and then you can plug into that. That might be an alternative for people instead of carrying around. I mean, those external surge protectors, they're heavy. It's another thing to carry around and plug in.
And they're expensive. I mean, they make some cheaper ones, $100 or so. The one I got from Airstream, it's a Hughes Power Watchdog. I think it was like $300, and so I locked that sucker. It's got a little thing you can lock it with like a bicycle cable. So you definitely want to lock it up because they're expensive. Yeah, and the one time on my leisure travel van, there's only been one time that I didn't use my little analyzer thing. I was in a hurry. It was super hot. I just wanted to get the air conditioner on, plugged that sucker in, and it was bad power. And so the one time I didn't use my analyzer. And so we had to let it pop the breaker 3 times before I figured it out and moved. So analyze that power before you turn it to your coach, because luckily it just popped the breaker and didn't fry anything. So especially my surge protector, because then I would have to replace that.
Or replace the leisure surge protector. It's a it's a Progressive Dynamics I mean, it's a good unit. It's just it's not usable where Leisure installs it. I just worked with a guy to replace his with the Hughes Watchdog hardwire unit, and it has an automatic shutdown for emergencies. If you do get power surges. It's Bluetooth. I mean, it's really nice, and it's very easy to install. I mean, it's 3 wires on each end. The terminals are externally, so you basically just unhook the leisure surge protector. You stick the wires in the right places on the ends of the Watchdog, turn the 3 screws, bam, you're done.
So I think what we're getting out of this is, if Leisure Travel Vans is listening, is give us more Bluetooth in the Xantrex and in the use that Watchdog, and so we can use our phones to help control our coaches better. But I love that.
Make it easy for the owners. I mean, to me, they're just not
another thing. Another great thing about that Watchdog that I know, like I said, I got the Airstream, and so it does not have a built-in surge protector. So you do have to, if you want any protection, you have to use an external. But one of the good things is it shows you voltage, amperage, wattage. It shows you how much you've used in a time period. It's a really, really great piece of equipment. So if you're looking for a surge protector, definitely that Watchdog is one to get.
And it has an excellent reputation. I mean, you can watch review after review, and the reviewers pick the Watchdog over the Progressive every time.
Yeah, and that's how I chose as well, because I had to research so much stuff for this Airstream, and that'll be for another topic. But yeah, I had battery anxiety, and that was no fun. So I can't wait to get my lithium system into that thing. Anyway, well, we've almost gone an hour, Sandy. And so we'll probably wrap it up here. But I sure do enjoy talking electricity with you. And I'm a little jealous you're going to the Keys, so that sounds like a lot of fun.
It is going to be fun.
But yeah, so just as a reminder, now Sandy, a lot of it you can find on our website as well, but Sandy writes some awesome DIY guides, really detailed. You know, I find that as impressive as all of your DIY stuff that you do with the batteries as you're writing you are so detailed. That must take you forever to do. And she makes these amazing details, photographs, graphics, everything that you need if you want to DIY anything from a solar controller to a full lithium upgrade. So Sandy has those on the Leisure Travel Van Enthusiast Facebook page in the file section. She also has them on the Sprinter forum, or if it's relatable to a Lithionics and a Leisure Travel Van, you'll find it at pagosasupply.co/lithium. I have all of her files there you can download as well. But I just want to say,
I've
go ahead.
also uploaded them on the Leisure Help group and the Leisure Upgrade group. So you can get them pretty much anywhere you're at.
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you, because, I mean, without your help, and Sandy helps so many people. In fact, you just recently helped somebody yesterday that was having a little bit of trouble that was really nice of you to do. But Sandy helps so many people, and you do it all for free. And so, and you write all those guides for free. And so thank you for your contribution.
I want to say thank you for connecting me with that lady. Brandon connected me with what he thought was an 80-year-old single, solo leisure owner, and she was getting ready to go on a big trip, and she has a Lithionics battery, but she was having battery anxiety herself, trying to understand how to use it. And what I really thought was funny is when I started talking to her, she said, I have to correct something. Brandon told you I was 80 years old. I'm really 82. And I said, well, good for you. I mean, you're as young as you feel.
Yeah, I tell you what, that whenever I
was very happy to help her, and I've got her, I've got her on her way to happiness, and that's just really what it's all about. So I like helping people.
Well, that's great, because I have such limited knowledge. We were just with the Lithionics, and so many people ask me questions and everything, and I have very limited knowledge, and you're always eager to jump in and help, and I do appreciate that. Or even on the Facebook page, if you want to learn more from Sandy, just go search her posts out on the Leisure Travel Van's Facebook page, because you can learn everything just from her posts. So, and you're helping somebody who's swapping out an inverter now, and so on Facebook. So anyway, thanks for all you do. But with that, I think we'll end the old podcast here, Sandy, and we'll do it again soon. And hopefully I might see you in November if I can get a spot down there in the Keys, because I would love to come down there in November with the flamingos.
I'd love you to
I love
come.
all my flamingos peeps.
I'd love you to come down, and like I said, maybe we can find a new topic to do a video on. Hey,
Absolutely.
I think we should do changing the Sterling DC to DC charger for a 50 amp DC to DC charger. I mean, people just don't understand how inadequate that Sterling is.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I've never had a problem with mine, but I probably answer more questions about the Sterling than anything, because there's so many people that are having problems with them.
Well, people don't understand. I mean, besides the problems with Sterling, the loud fan, the, overheating, blah, blah, blah. But people don't understand that the Sterling really only puts out about 24 amps maximum.
That's the most I've ever got.
Yeah. And you're, when you're driving, you're typically running your Dometic refrigerator off battery, and that takes about 20 amps. So people don't understand that basically the Sterling is just running your refrigerator. You're not getting battery charging, So,
Yeah.
If you've run your Lithionics battery down and you're expecting to run the air conditioner at the next stop, it's not going to be any more charged up than when you left, because the Stirling basically can only has enough juice to run the refrigerator. And, that's not good enough. So if you would...
And we also need to do a video on changing out the solar controller and getting rid of that PMW
that's
type.
easy. That's easy too. That's pretty easy installation.
Yeah, because I think most people can DIY that as well.
Yeah.
But anyway,
okay.
All right, Sandy. Well, thanks again for joining me. And if this is your first time here, make sure you hit the old subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're on Apple or Spotify, please give it a rating of 5 stars. Helps other people discover all of this great information with guests like Sandy here. But anyway, thanks, Sandy, and hopefully see you in the Keys in a few months, right?
All right.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.